everyone, it's Kino here. Welcome to another episode of Seek Up. I'm super excited to introduce Angelique Sandas today. Hey,
Hi.
Angelique.
Hey,
Hi.
Kino.
Thanks for joining us,
Thank
not
you.
only here on Seek Up, but also on OmStars.
Thank you. It's been so awesome.
Yeah. So I've known you for a very long time, but so many of our viewers are maybe just getting to know you. The question that everybody wants to know is, like, where are you from?
Yeah. I grew up in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Small
now,
town.
Is it really true that there's like a way that Wisconsin people say?
It really is.
Okay, so how do you say
did it too.
Did I do it?
The non-Wisconsin way. And I heard it.
So teach me.
Okay, so first of all, the non-Wisconsin way is to accent the con.
So Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, like a hard C.
Okay. Or
And the Wisconsin way is just Wisconsin. The S and the C.
Wisconsin.
That's better.
Okay.
You still lengthen the con a little bit. Wisconsin. It's Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, say it faster.
Like all together. Like
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wisconsin. I don't know if I can do that forever.
It's so funny. I didn't realize that was a thing that people knew about. Wisconsinites know about it. Like, we always know that you're not from Wisconsin if you say Wisconsin.
Yeah. Are there any other Wisconsin words?
Not really. I mean, some people in northern Wisconsin, like I grew up on the edge, the borderline between like Milwaukee, Madison, the more city parts of Wisconsin, and the Northwoods. The Northwoods is like logging country. It's even past farm country. It's like more remote. So I was on the edge. Up there, you get some of the Yooper accent.
What's
know?
that?
Oh yeah, hey. Oh yeah.
Canadian.
Yeah,
almost Canadian. Yeah,
I think it's related to Scandinavian. Like it's an area where a lot
I totally
of
hear that, like that kind of uptone, almost sing-songy. Yeah, exactly.
It's an area where a lot of Scandinavians settled. It's very reminiscent of like the vegetation. Like feels familiar.
So if my husband's Danish, if you guys don't know, so if Tim misses home, I should send him up there.
According to the area, it's very similar.
Yeah. So then the next thing that everyone wants to know is, how did you start yoga?
How did I start yoga?
Yeah.
So I am one of those people that started with dance.
Okay.
I have a dance background.
What kind of dance?
I started with like studio dance as a kid, like
how young?
Jazz and tap 9.
Wow.
Which is actually kind of old. Like a lot of kids start at like 3.
It's true, yeah.
No, I started at 9 with like the jazz and tap and through high school I started teaching dance as a teenager. That was one of my high school jobs.
Nice. So you were teaching the kids that were younger than you.
Teaching the young kids, yeah. And then I went to university for dance. So I studied dance at the University of Minnesota in Minneapolis. I went even colder than Wisconsin.
Wow.
No, stupid. And it was through dance actually that I had my first experience with yoga.
So what was that like, and how old were you?
Probably 18. So probably started in my freshman year of college. A lot of the dance program would bring in professional choreographers from all over to do segments, to do work with the students, or to do like periods of time in the class. And a lot of them, especially, I think it was, I can't remember his name now, but I remember one teacher in particular, this tall, blonde, lanky guy that did yoga as a warm-up.
Okay.
And I remember doing down dog and dying.
Oh, but you was a dancer, an 18-year-old dancer.
My legs were fine. It was arms. Anytime I had to like use my arms as foundation, it was not very familiar.
Yeah. So I just want everyone to pause and just notice that, and let's like hear that. So here you are, years later, and people would look at you and they would never be able to guess that downward dog killed her on her first yoga class. So for everyone out there watching, if you're thinking like yoga's too difficult for me, or if you're dying in downward dog,
that's true.
Yeah.
And it was a while because
we forget too.
I know.
Yeah.
And then, so that was an introduction. So, but that was just like little warm-ups. It was never like a full class until...
You didn't like leave that class and were like, I love yoga. I want to do it every day and dedicate my life to it.
That's weird. That's what yoga is.
Yeah,
that
hurt my arms.
Yeah, it's exhausting. My arms are shaking. And then it wasn't until I was living in Chicago after I graduated college, moved to Chicago. I had a boyfriend who meditated, and he followed... it was Siddha Yoga or something like that.
Yeah.
That was more of a meditative practice. He didn't do a lot of asana. But so I started doing meditation practice with him. And it was when we broke up and I was devastated. Actually, I can look back at that and be like, thanks, because that's what like pushed me into taking yoga. So you know who you are. Thank you for breaking up with me.
Yeah. It is often suffering, though, that
really
turns
is.
us into the spiritual path.
It was my best friend. She was like, I'm getting you out of the house. You're going to yoga with me. And she would like make me go on those days where I just wanted to stay in bed.
What kind of yoga was it?
The first class was an Ashtanga class. And I hated it. I loved the chanting.
Okay.
I was like, this is cool. I loved that there was, it was a spiritual element to me from the start.
What did you hate about it?
The down dog, again.
Down dogs. There's a lot of down dogs in the Ashtanga yoga method.
I was on, my hands were slipping on the mat.
Yeah.
I couldn't stay stable. My arms were shaking. And I couldn't, one sun salutation after another. And I was like, when do these end? Like I was dying by the time they finally finished B. And then when it started to get into the poses, I was like, okay, I can handle this. Because then it was positioning my body, and I understood that.
Right.
You know, the strength and endurance of the sun salutations killed me. But after that one Ashtanga class, I was like, nah. And then we started doing Bikram, which I really dug, honestly, because we partied so much then, and it was very detoxing.
I hear you. And there's less down dogs, right?
Less down dogs.
Yeah. I've never done a Bikram class.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
you know, Florida's kind of hot.
yeah, and in Chicago it was great. It was actually like wintertime too. So, and it felt very detoxing. It felt very purifying. But even through Bikram doing it like a few months, I was like, there's something missing. This isn't it yet. Like I loved the yoga at that point, but I could feel like there were movements that the Bikram sequence wasn't giving my body. I knew that there was more that my body wanted to do, and it wasn't happening there.
So you kind of started yoga from a place of high body awareness.
Yes.
So even that kind of terminology, that way of thinking, there are movements that my body wanted to do. I feel like your average beginner yoga student doesn't have that kind of intimacy with the body.
I always consider dance to be a part of my yoga practice. Like my yoga started before I started doing yoga, because the dance gave me that aspect of it, which I think is honestly the first thing you learn when you start taking yoga is figuring out how to be aware of where your body is in relation to itself and space, the floor, the room, you know. That's like even harder to teach or sort of integrate than I think positioning yourself.
Totally.
You have to know, how, like, you know, when you say move your left arm back, like what does that mean if you're not looking at it?
Yeah, no.
It's tricky.
It's really common. I mean, you experience as a teacher, and I experienced a lot just as an individual that didn't have a dance background. When these sort of directions are given in the body, it takes a while to figure out what they are.
What does that mean?
Yeah, and then it's amazing how many, like how clear a direction is when you give it, and then when it's received by the student, or when you receive it yourself,
how it's interpreted.
The permutation is totally, it's totally different. So, you know, like send your arm back, you know, it could be back, it could be back, you know, and so.
And that's one thing that I've really worked on as a teacher is figuring out that not everyone's going to hear the message with the words that I initially use. Like you have to keep trying different words.
Yeah.
A little bit different order.
Totally.
You know what I mean? A little bit of word and a little bit of touch. You know, because it's like it can seem clear to you, but how does it translate?
Or the other thing, which I had a lot, which is that, you know, you're there, you're doing that direction diligently with all your heart, you know, whether it's like send your pelvis forward or send the arm back or any direction that you're doing it with all your heart. And then the result is nothing.
Minimal if anything.
Yeah, you're just like, I'm really trying. And it's like, come on, keep doing it. I'm like, I'm dying. And then it's like the result is nothing.
That's me in strength, anything.
Yeah. And I mean, on the teacher's perspective, you know, I think it's important to remember that. That just because the result doesn't mean the student's not trying. A. And then as a student's perspective, to really honor, like, I am really trying.
Yes.
It may take a long time for, you know, your brain can send the signal. It doesn't mean that part of your body heard it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then your brain can send the signal, the body heard it, but it might not be strong enough or flexible enough to do what it wants to be doing.
Yeah.
You know, or what you want it to be doing.
It's like, it's a matter of being aware both as the teacher observing it and trying to get the result, and as the student trying to create the thing, to recognize like a flicker of the idea is success.
Absolutely.
Sometimes, you
Just
know,
a little feeling.
like I was working with someone today and trying to find the hug in of the ribs, And it was like, coming in Karandavasana. And touching and yelling at her, not yelling, but like, pull in. And then it was just one moment of this, and then she lost it again.
Yeah.
But it was it.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that was success. Like
Absolutely.
you found it.
Even for just a moment.
Yeah. At least it was there. So it's possible, and now we cultivate it. Yeah.
So here you are doing Bikram, feeling my body wants more.
Yeah.
So how did you make it back to Ashtanga?
It was again the same friend, and I think we just kind of did like, let's take yoga. What classes are available right now?
Right.
You know what I mean? And it did get to a point in Bikram where we wanted to try other things.
Yeah.
We were kind of like, okay, we've had this experience for a few months now. I was feeling like I wanted to try something else. She actually had a dance background too.
Yeah.
So we were like, let's try something else. So we went to actually a different Ashtanga studio and tried it, and then I was hooked. That class I was like, this is what
was
I've
it
been
full
looking
primary
for.
series?
Half primary.
Half primary, yeah.
Half primary. And it was hard. It was hard, but the structure of it, I think, the teacher I vibed with. I mean, sometimes that stuff is just like, it just happens or it doesn't.
Absolutely.
You either connect to the teacher or you don't. And if you do, it makes the class a completely different experience than if you don't, even though it's the same. It's Ashtanga, it's the same sequence.
Absolutely.
So I think I vibed with that teacher, I vibed with that space, and maybe it was just the right time. Maybe I just needed those few months to get prepared to be able to accept it.
That makes sense.
And then after that, it was all Ashtanga. And I think even within a few months of taking class with that teacher, I knew that I wanted to teach it.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was quick.
Yeah. So did you go into Mysore style?
I didn't until teacher training, because that was just guided classes with her. So then I started looking around for different teacher training programs that had an Ashtanga focus. Because there wasn't, this was the early 2000s. There certainly wasn't any Ashtanga teacher trainings. But there were
that's
teacher
still even
trainings.
a controversial thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there were teacher trainings that said we do the Ashtanga practice in the teacher training. You know what I mean? That's sort of how they worded it. It was Yoga Works, and it was Paul Daligan in Thailand.
Yeah.
And they were comparable as far as like what it looked like the syllabus was and everything. And I was like, okay, but that one's in Thailand. So I'm gonna go there. And it was there that I did the first Mysore class.
Wow.
In preparation, he had us 6 months before going, had us start doing self-practice at home.
Okay.
So starting to memorize.
Yeah.
So I started doing self-practice at home as well as the guided classes. But it was in Thailand that first practice was Mysore.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That was in 2003.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, 2003.
So you're there at your first teacher training, which you hadn't done a Mysore style class, but you were able to do
sort of prepared for what was going to happen.
Did you memorize the whole primary series?
I think I got through half.
Half. Okay.
I had done the other poses, but I think by memory I felt very comfortable with half primary.
Yeah. And so what was that first Mysore class like for you?
God, it's hard to even remember. It was all very overwhelming. I think the first week of it was very overwhelming. It was one of those things like, I'm in over my head. What was I thinking? I don't belong here. All of that.
Yeah.
And this is actually a moment that sticks with me. And it has, it's really informed one aspect of who I am as a teacher. It sounds really profound when I put it that way. I don't know if the story's going to sound that profound, but I had an old ankle injury from college, not even from dancing.
Oh, what happened?
Like playing hacky sack.
Oh, hacky sack! You had a hacky sack injury. This is the first time I've ever heard of anyone having a hacky sack injury.
I was doing a trick.
A trick.
I was doing a trick, and I landed on the inside of my foot. So my ankle went sideways that way.
Wow.
So it damaged. The doctor called it the rotator cuff in the ankle. I've never heard of that as being referred to the ankle since.
Yeah.
But it's basically like what your foot uses to determine whether it's stable, like balance.
Okay.
So a lot of times my ankle would give out suddenly. Like if I was stepped on uneven ground, my ankle didn't understand what that meant.
Wow.
Like how to adjust for it. You know what I mean? So when I started doing yoga, the Marichasana B was actually where it first came up. Doing the lotus and that ankle stretch when you start to compress and fold forward. I remember I did it fine on the one side, the right side, because the left leg goes first, and I bound and everything. And then I went into the second side, and I held way back because I was feeling the resistance of that old injury.